All right, welcome into another 5 minutes with Sean, maybe 10. Today is another sit-down edition, and it is special because we are doing a dealer sit-down with my man, Gray Scott. Gray, how are you today, man?
Sean, I'm excellent. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for joining me from your vacation. I appreciate you making the time for us. Look, I want to get right into this. I know you're busy. I want to take up a ton of your time. So with that in mind, Gray, the floor is yours. Tell the audience and myself what we're going to be talking about today.
I think today what I'd like to talk about a little bit is just kind of third parties and the third party expectations that we have as dealerships and what I believe they obviously have from us. And I think that can go in two ways. I think for them, they want us to pay our bill. And from the dealer perspective, I think we expect sometimes a lot more and sometimes maybe less, depending on who and what it is.
So the dealer-vendor relationship, more around the third-party expectations. I love that because recently, Gray, I've had a run-in with some third-party vendors that are trying to raise rates. And when asked about raising rates, the answer, and I wish this was not true, but I actually have it in an email, so I know it's true. The answer was, well, we have to make up for last year's discount somehow. And it enraged me to no end. Do my dealers get to make up for those losses? Do they get to charge people more money this year for products of the same of last year? I don't think so, Gray. So tell me what you're passionate about as it relates to these third parties right now, because I know you're having a lot of discussions on that one app.
Clubhouse, yeah, Clubhouse.
That's it. Yeah, I forget the name. Us people can't be involved in it. We forget about it. But tell me where you're at with this, man.
So it's interesting. So I'm one of the moderators on this vendor dealer partnerships room, and we meet every day. I try and get on as much as I can. And one of the conversations that we were talking about recently was kind of vendor disappointments. And, there was one of the ones that we were speaking about in particular happens to focus primarily on new cars, new inventory, new car listings. And they have certainly had a roller coaster of sentiment regarding them from dealers, and when we think about it, they started off slamming us, and consumer confidence in the dealership was at an all-time low. Then they got some new executives in-house, and they kind of put a band-aid over that, smoothed it over. Dealers are our friends and our partners, and trust the dealer. They're going to take good care of you, and they're certified, right? So we went on that path. And then all of a sudden they had another little shimmy shake up there, and all of a sudden things are back down. It's not so much that they're slamming dealers, it's that dealers are paying the same amount of money for a fraction of quality of service, quality of leads, quantity of leads. And here I am thinking, we're paying you the same amount of money, getting a fraction of what you used to deliver, and this is supposed to be okay with us? And it's one of those, Sean, where this particular provider, it's almost like, damned if you do and damned if you don't. What do you do, right? Can I risk the 10 to 12 sales a month somewhere else? Can I bring that in first party? And so it was an interesting conversation kind of regarding that.
I think a lot of that comes back to the fact that when people talk about losing a vendor, you just touched on it, right? So you're going to make a decision on a vendor that you're unhappy with. You look at the numbers, you look at last click attribution, you look at first click, you're a smart dude. You look at all that, you look at the linear model, and you say to yourself, 10 deals, 12 deals. Where am I going to find that? Because that, again, against a 100-car store, that's a 10% number. So it's not peanuts. I mean, we have to concern ourselves with the 10 deals. However, the only way to know if advertising works or does not work, in my opinion, is to get rid of it. I don't know.
100%. And so I think going into April, which is a little scary because it's we're ramping up. March has been on fire for us. We're thinking about letting this particular third party go because, when it comes to attribution, when you have a picture painted, right, with a broad stroke, I see that customer, that's not the only source they're going to. Right. But at the same time, it's definitely a source that they're hitting. And so, it goes back to also not just them. I mean, all third parties. So there's so many that are out there that, obviously when it came to the pandemic, a lot of them gave us great discounts. And so, that's remarkable. And you mentioned, earlier that they're raising the rates because they have to make up for the discounts. Well, guess what? That's bullshit. You know why? Because when they dropped their prices for us, they also stopped advertising. I don't think any of them were hitting the airwaves, the digital, anything. They weren't spending any money in marketing.
And they laid off half their fucking staff. I don't want to hear this cry me a river for corporations who couldn't survive a pandemic that they wouldn't have been ready for, even if they had heads up and notice. It's a joke. Those spaces have always been bloated. Okay. How many reps do you really need to serve Chicago? Really, give me a break. You need 7 people to call on 15 stores. It's a joke. So I'm not going to have any of my dealers. I've told all my clients, we are making a pact together. One of us comes to raise the rate. We all say no. We all say no because they can't live without us. I think they have forgotten this at some point where they think this industry is theirs to have, and they're there because we invited them to be there. That's the
without the dealers, without our inventory, these third parties do not exist. You said it, you hit the nail on the head. We are why they exist. And when you think about things, they are technology companies that are filled with people, which I appreciate, hence my 60 spot we just launched. But however, they're tech companies, which means big, fat, thick margins. And if you're not running at a thick margin, then you're doing something internally wrong. Because frankly,
that's not my problem. That's not my fault.
Tech is tech.
Yeah, you're a tech company, and you're right, Gray. If we could go back to 1998 when we first sold our fee to Auto Trader and know what we know today, maybe we wouldn't have done that. Maybe things would be different if we always control our inventory. But now we live in a world where we got to try and coexist, at least to some level. But you've touched on this a few times. Let's talk about the discounts, okay? Let's talk about last year's discounts. Fine. I don't really care. So this other company in the space, third-party space, with a recent client, this client has cleared out this vendor out of 90% of their 30 stores. Okay. The vendor's wiped off the face of the earth.
Wow. Okay.
But the dealer don't care. The dealer's selling more cars than they ever sold in their lives. And again, guys, I got to be honest with you right now. We're in high tide of the car business. I just heard you say you're rocking and rolling in March. We have no cars coming. We're all killing it. We're all selling a ton of units. We're doing it because the desire and the demand is there. Advertising is helpful, but it isn't what's pushing these people over the edge. And it certainly isn't a visit to one of these third parties that got them to say, oh, well, yep, that's now the car. That's now the time. So we have to do better. But these guys came out and now they're begging the stores to come back at better than 50% off their original rate. Now, I get that's supposed to make me feel good. You know what? It doesn't.
No, you should have started that way. You should have just left the rate the same.
Right?
Right. You should have left the rate the same. Right? Stop playing these stupid games with us, right? Leave the damn rate, have the conversation, or understand that we're not in a position to accept a higher rate. And just like you said, you laid off a bunch of people, you cut way back in your marketing and your advertising, and let's look at Q1 for 2021. How much did you spend in advertising this quarter? Not a lot, because you could still get away with the fact that you didn't have to blow it out in millions. And I have a feeling I know who you're talking about, but I'll just bring up some other ones that are even bigger than that, and that has multiple companies and multiple billions of dollars in revenue, and their advertising is just ramping up for Q2, right? And so it's like, wait a minute. And at the same time, all these companies that are complaining about lost revenue, you didn't go to a conference for the last 365 days. How much money did you save just from that? 6 figures. Hello, I don't feel your pain. My violin doesn't sing to your song. Stop the bullshit. At the end of the day, we're as much of your partner as you're our partner. And yes, we try and squeeze stuff out of you, but we very rarely get exactly what we want out of you. You know what I mean? So stop trying to squeeze us. We're all in recovery together. Let's keep moving forward and keep trying to figure out how we can cohabitate and live peacefully in this partnership. The reality, Sean, that I have to say is, I would love to kill every one of my third parties. It's $30,000 to $40,000 a month in a 6-figure budget. Goodbye. However, when they are actually operating the way that they typically operate with the typical marketing spends, I can ride their coattails. I can ride their $1 million in Chicago in a quarter, because guess what? That's visibility that I'm going to have, an exposure that I may or may not get from that small percentage of shopper who's on that platform.
Yeah, but I also want to make sure, because you and I talk about this a lot, dude. Here's the thing. Not all eyeballs and not all traffic is worthy, right? So right now, a particular vendor loves to make their push in this given month, for the madness that exists.
Yes.
Which is great. And you can watch it on the data. You'll watch March's data go all the way through the roof. But that's only the SRPs, right? SRPs go here. But the VDPs, they're going like this, or they're going like that. They're following the lead count. I think to myself, now, what have you done here? but we're gonna bang our chest. We've got so many visitors to our site. Who cares? If
it's got to sustain.
Shit, it does not matter.
It's got to sustain. You got to sustain that exposure. You got to sustain that traffic long term beyond just the sporting event that's going on.
And what about where they're getting it from, Gray? How about this little nastiness that's been happening in these third parties where now they're starting to sell leads that they get from social and don't disclose it. They say it's actually from their platform. How jacked up is that?
Yeah, and I was recently approached by a vendor with the idea of how did I feel? They were talking about it. How did I feel about buying hard leads? And I said, there's no way in hell I'd ever give you $1.00 for a lead from your platform. Because frankly, if you're getting them to sell me, I can get them myself, whether I backdoor into your site through display advertising with the call to action, or whether it's social media. I think it's so important though that they understand from the vendor side that we are still sensitive. We might be having a gangbuster March. Our industry is finally coming back to where it needs to be, but we're still recovering. And frankly, we still need them and they still need us. Like you said, if every dealer pulls their inventory, let's say 1,000 dealers pulls inventory, that's a huge hit. It's a huge hit for pages. It'll be a huge hit from an SEO perspective. It'll be a huge hit fiscally. And that's, I think, what we need more of in this industry is more dealers to stand up and say no.
Great. We work on it every day, man. It's part of the revolution that we try to have, and we try to let people know that it's okay to say no, and it's okay to cut a vendor. Look, if you've got historical data, you're going to know if that vendor really made a difference. And guys, please take me at my word. If you cut a vendor on the 15th of March, and by April 15th, your business isn't all the way through the roof, it's probably not necessarily all tied to one vendor in a 30-day cycle. That isn't how buying goes. So you got to get away from a vendor for a good 60, 90-day detox before you know if it's working or not. Is that right, Greg?
Yeah, you got to give yourself 90 days, 100%. 100%. You got to give yourself a solid 90. And I'll give you an example. It's there's one third party in the space, and it's funny because there's two that really, when you think about our third parties, there's only two that really specialize in new car listings, right? The one that I mentioned that had the rise and fall and everything else. Correct. And there's one that was pretty high up, no executive shifts, but the technology and the platform seems to have taken a dip. And now they've gotten in the habit of their core platform doesn't work necessarily as much as the advertising portion. They want you to add additional spend. So let's say you're paying for the core platform. Now they want you to spend $1,500, $2,000 in social extra advanced ads because that's where it converts. Well, I'm sorry. I was paying you for years on the core platform that was performing amazingly. What happened? What happened? So, like, are you out of your mind?
And hold on. And the fucked up part about that is, Greg, is they don't come to you for any sort of budget reallocation. They come to you with your PPC spend, because I know exactly what you're talking about. With your PPC spend, they're like, yeah, okay, well, we're going to sunset this product, which is corporate lingo for we've given up, we can't exist anymore in the space. And when we do that, we're just going to take your money and we're going to put it into social. Even though that social click is 5 cents and the one click over here on paid was $5, we're going to associate the same budget and we're going to give you 16 million visits. Aren't we amazing?
Yeah. So they go for the traffic play, right? So it's like, okay, great. But when you go through the leads aren't that good. So it's a very deceiving smoke and mirror. And I'll never forget the day. And this particular company, I sat with the CEO at NADA, had a conversation. He had no clue what I was talking about. I said, dude, listen, you guys used to come in as organic XYZ, like it was just a normal referral.
That was your business, dude. That's how you got found. That's how you got put on the map. You used to give shit away for free.
And yes, and then I said, now all of a sudden we added the advertising and you blended the two. It used to be CPC and then it used to be platform. Now all of a sudden it's one referral, one source code. And so how do I know what's the core? And I said, it's smoke and mirrors and it's bullshit.
They're all doing that, Greg. They're all doing it. And smart guys like you and I, all you got to do is go to the TOS and the pages per site. And I know exactly what traffic you brought me, because a year ago, your referral was worth 4 pages and 2 minutes. Now your referral is worth 1 page and 30 seconds. Right. How did we get here? What other traffic do I buy that looks similar to that? Oh yeah, right. Social, where you guys are getting it for pennies on the dollar, charging us dollars over clicks. It's absurd. It's absurd. Yeah. And then last year, they got caught doing bullshit. They tried to have that stupid town hall meeting that just made matters worse, because you have people talking who have no clue. You were talking to the CEO. He has no clue what's going on in his business.
He had no idea. He looked at me and goes, I'll have to research and investigate this. And I looked at him and I said, we've been gone and I have no problem being away from your platform. However, you have a wonderful rep in my area who I love to death. She's
Sure.
phenomenal. And I said, listen, you put a little skin in the game. You pay for it, and you show me that you can deliver me traffic like you used to, and I'll pay whatever premium you want me to pay. He wouldn't do that. And so I said, you know what? I'm just not going to go with it. And we continue to stay off the platform. And we did just fine for over a year. Now, I'm telling you, Sean, this particular vendor used to be spot on amazing. We're talking big lead quality, good quality,
Yes.
good sales, and
Yes.
then just kind of like over 2 years vanished. But of course, our rates, and when I cancel them, now when they tried to come back in, I pay next to nothing. So I'm like, okay, for the exposure. But you know what? We put them on, not a whole lot, and it's been 60 days.
No, because now it's about now they've got themselves in a certain price point that they really do well at, and that's it now. They used to be. Do you remember when you were trying to explain to people that certain vendor, you'd say, look, how about just type in 2005 Audi RS, and you do that, and that listing would be there immediately.
Yeah.
You were like, this is amazing. This is why we should go from free to paid. But every time I go from free to paid now, I get less than when it was free. And now they've limited the free because they know that about themselves.
Yeah. So it's just, I think more people need to call them out on that stuff. You know, that to me is what bothers me. And especially this one. And it's funny because I'm going to go skiing with her today when my kids are in ski school. And it's, you know, she's funny. She doesn't really push much because she knows if she pushes me too hard, that I'm just going to like lay the reality check on her about the company she works for. But it's just one of those where, you know, we continue to pay our bill as I don't want to say a humble dealer, but we paid our bill. We just expected the platform to perform it, and it couldn't even do that. And so I think that you know, these vendors need to realize that we're smarter than we were 10 years ago, and we can see through the bullshit. And for me, the biggest one was when I went from having a organic / you know, platform line in my referral traffic to an end-to-end, a CPC to just one. And of course, that just one looked amazing. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, because they were running at one point, they were giving me free advertising for 3 months. And it's like, wait a minute, yeah, you're better because you're paying for all this advertising, but the core is just falling flat on its face.
And now everyone's offering the display into the social. Folks, heads up, there's only one Facebook, okay? And it's localized. So if you're already doing a bang up job, let's just say you're spending 2-3 G's into Facebook in a major market. You're doing okay? You don't need to go to 3 other vendors to have them do social for another $2,000 a piece. So you're in the market for $8,000. Now you've done too much. There isn't that much available. It's absurd to think that we cannot accomplish things at a social level, how localized Facebook is for ourselves, that we need some third-party vendor from wherever to go get social traffic. And again, please stop telling me about these are different buckets. They're not looking at the same car buyers. We are bullshit. You are all looking at the same damn customer. There is
at the end of the day, customer A, Johnny Jones, is looking for some kind of a vehicle, whether he's on a third-party platform or just scouring the web. His behavior with the right partner and the right budget will trigger an ad, whether he went on one of the third-party sites or not. Now, it's very appealing to these third parties to say, we're going to retarget our shoppers and our audience with your inventory. Okay, great. I can do the same darn thing if I just dial it in.
But great. Then they say to you, but great, that's not the same traffic as ours. Okay, no customers go between all these sites, which is a total fallacy. It's a fucking joke. If you're one of these big third-party vendors and you think there's less than 20% crossover from your brand to the other competitor, you have your head so far in the sand, it's probably halfway up your ass by now, because it's completely wrong. Completely wrong.
Yeah. So no, absolutely. And that's the end of the day. You just have to make sure you have the conversation. If you've got an agency, you've got somebody in-house, whoever's handling your social can get you the same people generally, because guess what? Nobody goes to one platform anymore. Nobody goes to one source, which is why for me cutting this one out, we're getting more and more confident to be able to do it, because when we analyzed every one that we switched to a pay-per model, so that kind of gives you who it is, we started realizing that, wait a minute, even though it falls within the T&Cs and we have to pay them, there's still other sources. Like this is not really the tipping point.
Because you can still see first in, first out. It's still an existing part of what we do. And when that vendor came around and wanted to take credit, whether they were first in or last in, that's where things got broken for me. I had no problem giving you that fig on the first deal. right? If you were the first one to touch that customer in my CRM, and that's what it showed, but the second you were the third lead or the fourth lead and you still wanted to be paid, I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah.
It really proved that there was more to the journey than that. Great.
There
How
is.
often do you try to talk to folks who are actually, because you and I are not car consumers. We cannot be. We've been doing this way too long to be.
We're jaded.
How often do you talk to people who are actual buyers in the space, whether it's friends, family, and what do you
all the time
their journey? What? Because I've been hearing some very interesting things. What are you hearing from people when you talk to
the
them
stuff that I hear is actually really disturbing. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I asked a couple friends about like, hey, you're looking for a used car. Where do you go? And they told me Carvana. And I said, what? Like I'm paying all this money to be on how many different sites that have been around for over a decade. And you're telling me Carvana is your go-to source to look for our piece of inventory? Wow. Kudos to you, Carvana. Honestly, you guys came to the market. You're kicking ass. You're disrupting the market, and you're doing a great job getting all of us talking about you and how we're going to be a better business or market better or treat our customers better or provide that experience that's not that Carvana. But at the end of the day, when these, I don't say kids because I'm not that old, but these 20-something-year-olds will tell me Carvana, and I'm like, wow. And it's literally just kind of like, oh, okay, well, why do I need all these third parties again? You know?
So now my thought becomes, because I've run into a few guys, I know you're a smart guy, you probably have too. There are companies now out there that can retarget based on people who visited competitors' sites, right? And so when you start thinking about that, you're like, well, shit, if that's Carvana, but here's the other side of that. I talked to a 23-year-old who'd never heard of digital retail or remote retail or buying a car online. It was they had no idea. Yeah. They didn't even know that digital retail existed. They were just like, no, I went on a website. I looked for a certain car. They said they had the car. I showed it to the dealership. They wasted 8 hours of my life.
Well, but you know what the truth is? The digital retailing, and I don't remember exactly where you stand on DR. No. I think DR is important to have because I think the name of the game is transparency. But all these vendors just want you to believe that this is the way the consumer is going to buy their car. No, it's not. They prefer to still come inside, meet with you, sign the line, and buy their car and have the experience. But what they want is an hour experience, not a 4-hour nightmare. And that's where digital
is meant to cut out phases that could be done online. That's what.
And you got to trust it. You got to trust the digital. You got to trust that you can be transparent with your products and transparent with your pricing, transparent with everything. And guess what? They're probably going to spend more because guess what? If I go in there and I can be, the last thing I want to deal.
They've proven that gross profit can be more per car if you make it simpler.
That's it. They just gotta be simple. That's all.
And we were doing this in the state you're sitting in right now. We were doing this in 2004. So I don't need to hear about how this is some new concept. We filled out credit apps over the phone together. We sent each other pictures of cars. Yeah, there were some gigantic, terrible fender shots that took 2 hours to download. The point is, we were still doing it because we wanted to be honest with people. We wanted to make it easier for people to buy a car because we had to grow our market share, but we were a small dealer. How are we going to do it? Well, we're going to do whatever anyone else isn't going to do, which is, yes, you want to buy a car and stay in the mountains, don't want to come down here? No problem. Brought to you, done. But the home delivery thing, I got mad yesterday. I was on a drive with my wife, and one of the big dealers in town put up this huge billboard about home delivery. That was the whole billboard, home delivery. And I thought to myself, guys, even talk to the dealer. No one gives a shit. No, it's dealers. We've been offering home delivery for a decade. People aren't that interested in having you at their house. It's just not.
They don't, a very small percentage enjoys it, and a very small percentage will certainly take you up on that offer. But you know what? That's fine. We'll take the small percentage. At the end of the day, it boils down to one thing.
Market to though, is it great? Is it enough to really put your focus your marketing on this small percentage?
I wouldn't buy a billboard for it, but I don't mind having the verbiage somewhere.
Sure, I'll have a website. I'll have a banner ad if that's what makes people fine.
That's it. Delivery available, especially in these times, right? So, it's something like that. But I think it boils down to one thing, which was the start of our conversation. It's that vendor dealership partnership, right? It's the customer dealership partnership. It's all about the experience, right? We have to have a positive experience, whether it's going to be me as a dealer, you as a vendor, billing, overbilling, trying to increase my bill. That's a horrifying experience. We're trying to survive. You're trying to survive. And now you want to get us, rake us over the coals because we got a few more BDP views. Okay, great. Yeah, no. Same thing with the customer and the digital retailing. However you decide to deliver and get that car to that consumer, in that process, it's all about the experience and the value. Let's not forget about value, right? So when I feel like you're not bringing me value as a vendor, and then you want to increase my rates or not decrease my rates, then the value is no longer there. And that's when you begin to lose lose the interest, lose the attention, lose, i.e. the customer, me,
And
the dealer.
you talk about value, right? And that's what gets me going, because I'm a value driven guy. I don't, it's not the price of something that gets me. Okay. It's the value behind the price. I don't typically,
Right.
People say, oh, Sean, you know, why would you do this or that? Or why would you pay for this or that? Well, because first of all, it's what I like. And second of all, it's a value to me. It makes sense to me. It saves me time. It does this, it does that, whatever it is. I, as a business owner, and as someone who takes every hour they have, much like yourself, dude, every hour I got, that's for me. So if you're going to take an hour of my time, it has to go perfectly. Because if you need 4 hours, now I'm all jacked up. I don't have time for that. So
it's just, and people
speed over anything else.
And people are willing to pay more for added value. They're willing to pay more for the experience. They really, truly are. And I'll just bring up an example that I think about. So I'm here in Steamboat, Colorado, with someone special, and we're here for a mini vacation, 5-day weekend. And I decided for the adults, we're going to go out and get a nice special dinner, right? We can get sushi anywhere. Sushi comes on a tray, on a plate, you eat it, life goes on. Well, I'm willing to pay more because I wanted omakase. I wanted to sit at the bar, and I wanted the sushi chef to see what I enjoyed and create an experience for us that was remarkable. Then on top of that, given that amazing experience, I was willing to pay even more by tipping him, because the value of what I was getting was far greater than just a slab of sashimi on a platter in a pretty format. I was getting an experience. And so at the end of it, dinner costed way more than had I just sat at a table, ordered sashimi and ate it. But I was willing to pay for that. And customers are the exact same way, that they are willing to pay for a better experience. And as dealers, if we can deliver that experience, whether it's online or elsewhere, that's the key to continued success and growth, is creating that experience and not being afraid that transparency equals less profits, because it doesn't.
It doesn't. And again, we proved that in Colorado back in 2004, 2005. We weren't losing car deals. We were gaining car deals and not having to move the number at all. We weren't having to give anything away because we were mattering to their convenience. We were speaking directly to their needs and their wants. And again, that's what we have to do. We have to stop and we have to listen. We have to listen to the customer. But in the same regard, bringing it full circle, the vendor needs to listen to the dealers. And every time you need to raise a rate, go look somewhere in your bloated ass corporate budget bullshit and find that money yourself. Okay? Because we don't come to you every time you do something bad and come to you and say, okay, well, take the bill down, take the bill down, take the bill down. Look, great. I'll leave you with this concept I had, and I'd love to do it for vendors. No one's ever let me do it at a restaurant. Everyone thinks I'm rude, but my point was to speak to experience. When I get to a restaurant, I'm going to let the person know, hey, look, there's 4 of us. We're probably going to spend, X amount of dollars. Right here on this table, I'm going to leave a 30% tip. Okay? But for every moment that I don't feel like that 30% is valid, I'm going to just chuck $1 off. And whatever's left when we're done, you'll know how you did. Now, my sister's in this food industry. She's like, you're the most offensive person I've ever heard. That is so rude. I'm like, but wait a second. You guys complain about getting 5-cent tips. You're pissed off about that. I'm offering you the way to get 30, but I want 30 attention. That's what I want, right? And she's like, no, that's absurd. What if we did it to vendors? What if we said, yeah, no problem. Start of the quarter, I got you. I'll pay rate. But every month in that quarter where you suck at what you do and the quality of your work declines, I'm going to chunk off your bill. What do you think, Graham? Am I that rude?
No, I think it's a great concept. They would just never fly. That's why we have 15 pages we have to sign, but we sign up for this nonsense, God, yeah. So I like
sense,
it.
Right? It's paid for performance. That's what you want from us. But
that's how most everyone in our industry is paid when you're on the dealer side, based on your performance.
Exactly.
You get a base for the knowledge.
Blindly. Could you imagine paying a salesman blindly like we pay vendors? They'd never fly. Never. No way. Great, dude. You've been awesome. I love this discussion. I love what you guys are doing out there on the CH app. I know you're all having a ton of fun. Guys like Ben Hadley and the groups you're in. All really, really great people. And I'm glad you guys are talking about the vendor-dealer relations. We started CarBiz. This will be our 8th year. We started 8 years ago, and the goal was always to help that relationship. So
I think I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna do, Sean? I think I'm gonna send you, like, you're in a private message. I'm gonna send you a touch. So you have an iOS platform. I think you and your business should be on there, man. I know in your core you're like, no, I'm an Android. No. Never.
Please don't send me an Apple product. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. I won't do that. Even if it's available, I won't use it. I'll be honest with you. I'll speak to two reasons why. One, dude, if I got an extra hour in my day, I ain't spending it online. That's my apologies. And two,
I hear you.
My business is damn near sold out. So the idea of people say, Sean, you got to advertise. I haven't advertised in 6 years. My whole business.
You know what? I don't want you on there for advertising purposes. I want Charlie so that you and I can get like this
on
the Clubhouse and get the record in. You know what I mean?
I know,
drop the mic. Boom. Like, yeah.
I know. And I say it now because it's not available to me, and it isn't like
it will be. And when it is, I'm gonna get you on it because it's coming to Android. They decided to get it. Iron out the.
I know they just hired the biggest developer. I put out a thing about it. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're just upset it's not for you. You want to take your ball and go home." No, people. I just think it's funny that we use. Last thing, my thing about social media is I use social media for LinkedIn. That's what I do, right? That's all I use it for. But I don't post about other social media on social media. It just seems weird to me, Greg. I don't get it. Like, is it to bring notoriety? Because I see you do it. I'm trying to understand why would I use LinkedIn to publicize Clubhouse? Wouldn't people already know about Clubhouse through Clubhouse?
Yeah, but so what I like about Clubhouse, and I got to say this, is it's so crazy. I've been on there now a couple of months, and we go to conferences and we network and we shake hands and we meet some amazing people. But this is like a live speaking session or a live round table with anywhere from 20, 30 people that can talk. And we're all just talking about different ways that we do things, whether it's customer experience, whether it's the way we price our vehicles, whatever it might be. But the thing about it is you start building these relationships without ever tangibly necessarily seeing some of these people. And what you're doing is you're growing this network of positivity or even some negativity when it comes to certain things. What I like about it is I have taken away more tidbits from being on there than I do when I go to conferences because it's a broader reach. And the best part about it is you get some people, and I'll never forget, and she's amazing. Her name is Allie. She's a marketing manager in Texas. All of a sudden she raises her hand to speak in one of these rooms. And it was like a mic drop moment. I'm like, whoa, you're getting people interacting that you would normally not see at a conference, maybe because the store is too small. She's like, oh, we do this with Gubagoo. We do this and we do this. And it was just like came out of the shadows with the mic drop, instant silence on the board, room refresh. Hello, Allie. Welcome to Clubhouse. Like, wow. And that's what I like about it, is that you get these people, and some of them you've heard of, some of them you haven't. And it's what's nice about it is everyone's there for the positive good of everything that we do. And that's why I like it. So I think that when it is open to Android, check it out, because I can tell you, I think it'll be something that you'll like. But for now,
you spoke directly to my language right there, because we stopped going to shows previous to COVID because it just didn't make sense for us anymore. I saw you at the last show I attended, which was you and I were hanging out in Denver.
Yeah.
And that's the last show I attended because it turned very political for me at the time. And so, in order to speak and attend, you have to play politics. I don't do that. So I'm out on that deal. And then it wasn't penciling. We were spending money to go. Yeah, okay. Do I like to travel nicely? Is that why my expenses are higher? Sure. I don't really care. It never got close to penciling. And so it just didn't make sense. So if you're telling me that I can continue avoiding those shows, because I'm gonna, and still get cool engagement with new folks, maybe, just maybe, when it's here, maybe will wear off and we'll jump in.
I think so. And I think when you do, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the fact that there's a morning room that two guys from a dealership started, Modern Day Car Sales. And I'm in there every morning. And what's so neat about it is that it's just grown. And at any given point within about an hour to hour and a half after it starts, by like 7:30, 8 in the morning, you can have up to 100 people in there. That, to the point that someone brought up, we all need to meet each other. Let's pick a date in September. And so I think what you're going to find is that there's going to be little mini roundtable get-togethers from this app versus the big NADA Digital Dealer Speak. You know what? We can all get together and speak about the things that we talk about. And when you think about it, let's say that we're talking about attribution. You might have 105 people in a room that you're talking about, but when you sign up and you pay all that money as a vendor to be a speaker, you might get 25, 50, 35. You know what I mean? People in your room.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Well,
the reach is huge.
I'm thinking about that. So if people want to start getting into that, look, I don't know. I don't know where your allegiance lie in Chicago. I'm a South Side kid, so I'm thinking about renting a suite at the South Side. If anyone wants to do it later this summer and put a bunch of people together, I'm down to do it and have a Chicago car guys and gals evening. So you let me know if that comes to fruition.
I'll tell you what, if you want to do something like that, Sean, I'd put it together with you. I think we can figure this out. I think you've got enough heads between Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, and across the country that could fly in. And plus, with things opening back up this summer in Chicago, there's been some announcements. I think a get together like that could be a lot of fun, and I think it'd be worth it for everyone to join. I think a good solid just round table discussion, which is just plain old meat and potatoes. Why we all get together and do these things.
Nothing to sell. I got nothing to sell. Nobody who's going to be there would have anything to sell. We're there to help and educate and be into this together. Greg, you are the man. You are so awesome. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your vacation. Folks, as always, you know where you can find Greg. Clearly, you can find him on Clubhouse. You can find him on LinkedIn. The guy is everywhere. He's a dealer you want to follow. He's a dealer you want to get to know. So go out and do it. Greg, thank you so much. And audience,
Sean, thank you
so much. We appreciate it. Have a great week, and we'll see you again next week.